Hello, my creative friends. I'm Heather North from heatherscreativeblessings.com. As most of you know, I was recently asked to be the blog hop coordinator for the Calling All Sisters blog hop. And this month, May 17th, will be our first open blog hop, and we are inviting you to participate. I will have all the details over on my blog on how you can do that. Michelle Gross of CAS-ual Fridays Stamps is so generous. She sent me the new May release as a thank you just for being a part of her team. So that's what I'm going to play with today. If you saw my video last week with the stamp of approval, you'll recognize this technique. I'm going to use some Bristol cardstock and Zig Clean color real brush markers. It's a mouthful. I'm just going to scribble the ink onto the Bristol paper. Now the paper is very important. If you use watercolor paper, it doesn't quite blend and move as well as it does with the Bristol, and regular cardstock just tends to bubble up and make a mess. So use Bristol and you will find that the colors move and blend seamlessly. All I did was scribbled on those greens, and I'm going to squirt it with water. This is just my favorite technique whenever I want to have a colored background. Now, if I wanted it to be solid, I could take a paintbrush and just blend those colors together, and they will just blend and make a new shade of green. But I want the variation that comes by just letting it set. You set it aside to dry, and it just is beautiful. If you're wondering where to find Bristol, you can probably find it at your big box craft stores like Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, things like that, places like that. Or you can get it at Hutson or even Amazon. And I'll include a supply list and links down below if you want to check out where I get mine from. So I'm going to do the same thing for my flowers. I'm going to do purple on one side and pink on the other, just scribble. I added a little bit of purple to that pink side, and I'm going to use my watercolor brush to blend this out just because I'm being impatient. Now, if you want to add even more depth of color, let this piece dry and then come back with your markers and add a color again. I tried to do it while it was wet there and it didn't work very well. I do suggest waiting for it to dry. If you want to lighten it up, just use your paper towel to pick up some of that water. This is the Pretty Posies stamp set. It's brand new, so I am going to prime it, and I do that by just inking it up and stamping it a couple of times on some scrap paper. This kind of helps remove any residue that might still be attached to it. I let my watercolor pieces dry overnight, and you can see what they look like. I am going to take some Hero Arts black dye ink. This ink is waterproof once it's dry, so I'm going to stamp the flowers in the leaf, and just let it set aside to dry while I pick up my son from school, and then I'll come back in and finish my coloring. This stamp set comes with matching Fri-Dies. I love that because I am not a big fan of fussy cutting. So I am just going to take these dies to my Big Shot and die cut out each of the flowers and leaves. You could color first and then die cut, but I'm just going to die cut first. There we go. Magic of TV. And then I take the negative space and use that to see or to test out my greens to see which colors I want to use to add in some more coloring and shading. I chose the darkest green, and this, I love coloring. I love coloring books, and this stamp set is perfect if you like to color. It's very easy because there's just some simple lines and you just fill in the lines. I just did the veins of the leaves, but you could also go around the outside of each of these leaves as well and darken them up. There you go, like that. I'm going to do the same thing with the flowers, and I decided to have the darker flowers be a little bit darker purple, and so I stamped them and die cut them out of that darker side, and I'm also going to add purple as my outline. And then the bigger flowers I'm going to do in the pinks. I actually love these flowers with just the variation it gets from the Zig coloring we did in the beginning. But if you wanted to add some more shading and depth, you can do what I'm doing right here. And that is, I started with my deepest color and I just followed the lines from the center of the flower. And then I came in with a lighter color and I'm blending it out. Now the colors, the Zig markers will pick up the colors that it's touching. So you'll see me occasionally take my brush marker and just wipe it off on my scrap paper. If you want to lighten it up, you can add an even lighter shade, or you can come in with some water and that will lighten it up as well. I'm going to be using the background stamps included in this new release. It's called Tin Roof and it comes with 2 background stamps. And I pulled out my Misty. I like using my Misty when I have larger images because it has a larger space. And also when I need perfect placement, or if I think I'm going to need to stamp something more than once. And sometimes with background stamps I do, because I don't get even pressure. So using the stamp positioner will help me to have it completely or perfectly lined up so that when I stamp it again, it's going to stamp in the exact same place. And I won't get those icky double lines when I try to do it on my own. So I'm going to pull out the smaller of the 2 images for the background, for the bottom. This is the card base, and this is going to be at the bottom of the front of the card base. I know it's lined up kind of funny, but if I turn it around there, you can kind of see. So I've got the entire card base in there. I'm going to ink it up with Hero Arts black ink, the same ink I used for my card flowers. Oh my goodness. My husband is putting his hands in the camera view. He didn't know I was recording. He cracks me up. Okay, so I stamped the bottom of the card base. Back on track. I'm going to take that larger flower background and create kind of a trellis or a sky with some light blue ink. I've cut a panel of cardstock down. I think it's 3 3/4 or 3.5 by 5.5. I have to share something with you here while I'm stamping. Ileana, the maker of the Misty from mysweetpetunia.com, was watching one of my videos and noticed that there was some crazing on the lid of my old Misty. So she contacted me and asked me if she could send me a new one. She has since redesigned the lid, and so it doesn't crack and craze quite as easily. I was so impressed with that customer service. I didn't talk to her. I didn't ask for a new one. The lid still worked fine. And it was just around the edges that it even had any crazing. But the fact that she noticed and offered to send me a new one, she has my admiration. I'm just so impressed with her customer service. So I was already highly recommending this Misty. I can't recommend it enough now. So now I'm just going to arrange my flowers, and when I get it where I like it, I'll take a picture so that I can reassemble it. And before I adhere it down, I'm going to add my sentiment. This way, if I mess up my stamping, I don't have to pull them all off. But I did just fine. This is also from that Pretty Posies stamp set. And the Smile I die cut, that's another new die included in this new release. I die cut it out of the Zig paper. You may have noticed it earlier. I just cut it out of one of the lighter portions. I'm adhering my floral arrangement kind of from back to front. So the leaves go on the background and then the flowers, the bigger flowers go on top. I'm putting some of the flowers just adhered with snail adhesive, and others I'm popping on dimensionals. Some of them are going behind other flowers but peeking on top of others. Doing it this way adds a real depth to my arrangement. And I also popped up one of those smaller flowers onto the big flower. I really like that. I'm going to do that more in the future. I'm going to adhere this all with dimensionals and pop it up onto my card base. I'll glue my Smile die cut or run it through my Xyron and adhere that as well. And my final touch is off camera, but I added glossy accents to the center of each of these flowers. Adding that much water to the paper made my paper curl, and if you wanted your paper to be absolutely flat, you could glue it down and put something heavy on top. But I love the dimension I got by letting the curled paper just pull up a little bit from my card base and adding dimensionals on some of them. It just, there's depths and layers of texture and dimension here that I just really love. I hope you will give this technique a try and share your results with me. I would love to see them. Thank you again, Michelle, for choosing me to be your blog hop coordinator. I'm so honored to join you in sharing the mission to remind our sisters to do their monthly breast self-exams and yearly mammograms. If you would like to join us in the first ever open blog hop for the Calling All Sisters campaign, I will have some information for you over on my blog, including links to our Facebook page and how you can sign up to join us. If you liked my video today, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel to see more. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you find some time today to get a little creative. Bye!